1969, you yourself said, if knowing the consequences, they, meaning the consumers, choose to continue to smoke, they're entitled to do so. Is that right?
Yes, I have not advocated that there be any total prohibition.
You just want to prevent them from smoking cigarettes with tar above a certain level.
I want to protect them as far as possible in that regard and
from
to educate
themselves.
From themselves, and
yes.
to educate them as to what will be the results.
These consumers you protect choose to consume something you don't want them to consume, you'll make a law against it. Is that right?
I need you, Myrna.
Victor.
Myrna.
But what about the children?
Oh, Myrna, you know that I'm leaving tomorrow. And after that...
Oh, I need a cigarette.
Yes.
I need a cigarette.
Yes.
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 Yes, yes.
There is, in fact, no safe cigarette. If the cigarettes industry's economic power were as minuscule as that of the marijuana industry, cigarettes would surely be illegal now.
I didn't inhale. But then that's the time when everybody says, you know, you should. And that you have to be cool to smoke cigarettes. And then you don't want to make a big fuss and then cough and make so like you've never done it before, so that you don't inhale.
The technician is staining a microscope slide with cigarette smoke. In order to see anything of interest, it's necessary to examine the slide at a magnification of at least 1,000. The rust-colored areas are tobacco tars, and these are bits of unburned leaf. Other slides frequently show pieces of paper and even animal hairs. In many respects, cigarette smoke is rather like highly concentrated smog. They contain certain gases in common, such as carbon monoxide, nitrogen dioxide, and hydrogen cyanide. Additionally, at least 15 substances have been isolated in cigarette smoke that definitely cause cancer in test animals. This is a microscopic section of a human lung. The little particles are being carried along in a river of mucus. These hair-like cells are called cilia. They vibrate rapidly and force the mucus to carry harmful particles out of the lungs. These rotating cells lie on top of some cilia. They will be a gauge of how fast the cilia move. When a small amount of cigarette smoke is dissolved in the mucus, the cilia begin slowing down. Cigarette smoke is gradually paralyzing the cilia. Once the cilia have been paralyzed, particles in the smoke can enter the lung tissue and bloodstream. In the Orchard Park labs, nearly 10,000 white mice are treated with tobacco tar every day. The purpose of the experiment is to try to develop strains of tobacco which are less harmful than those being marketed now. It is thought that eventually they may be able to reduce the cancer-causing potential of tobacco by about 20%. Meanwhile, the mice continue developing cancers.
These mice have been on experiment for about 10 months. They've developed a number of tumors. Usually the tumors start out as relatively small, benign lesions. Some of them, however, become large, malignant cancers that will eventually go on to kill the mouse. Now, as long as the tumor is growing only on the skin, it doesn't cause the mouse any particular distress, but when the tumor begins to spread into other organs, ultimately the mouse will die. In this mouse, you see a small tumor, which is benign at this point, and a large cancer. Now, these tumors are produced in about 25% of all of the mice that we place on experiment with cigarette smoke.
This cell is cancerous. It is dividing into 3 parts rather than 2 at far too rapid a rate. It's this sort of uncontrolled division that results in tumors on the mice. We are presently in somewhat of an epidemic of lung cancer. In 1914, just 371 people died of the disease. Then, during the First World War, the Army began giving free cigarettes to the soldiers. The habit quickly caught on, and by 1970, some 60,000 people were dying annually from lung cancer. The nicotine in a cigarette has several immediate effects. Because it's a stimulant, it speeds up the heart. One cigarette can speed up the heart by as much as 21 beats per minute. At the same time, the blood vessels are growing smaller. They are constricting. This makes the work of the heart more difficult. Meanwhile, inside the lungs, cigarette smoke is causing the tiny air sacs to disintegrate. The air sacs are surrounded by blood vessels, and as they disintegrate, the heart must work harder still to circulate blood through what remains of the lungs.
A number of years ago, we studied coronary artery disease in relationship to cigarette smoking. Coronary artery disease is a hardening of the arteries. In the normal human being who does not have coronary artery disease, his coronary arteries are wide and there are no plaques or yellow streaks along the vessel wall. However, when he does develop coronary arteriosclerosis, there are yellow streaks along the entire course, and along with those yellow streaks, there are deposits of calcium. We found that severe coronary artery disease was 3 times as frequent in the heavy cigarette smoker as in the non-smoker.
It may be interesting to see how some of the medical evidence is collected relative to cigarette smoking and disease. This is a human lung, one of thousands studied at the Veterans Hospital in East Orange, New Jersey. The purpose of these experiments is to study the association of smoking and emphysema, which is a slow disintegration of the lungs. Evidently, there is a causal relationship between emphysema and some substances in tobacco smoke. Lungs from people who died of all causes are examined in this research lab. They have found that about 1 out of every 4 lungs has signs of emphysema. After the lungs have been sliced and evaluated, they are compared with the medical records of the person. It is no surprise that the vast majority of emphysema victims were smokers.
Well, we have here a graded and laminated sections of lung slices. And here you can see a normal lung slice with the parenchyma intact and the air sacs are not destroyed. And here you see a smoker's lung slice with the air sacs completely destroyed, They're actually holes. You can see right through them.
Could you tell me how frequent is this condition?
Well, this study here, this room, contains 8,000 slices, approximately 8,000 slices, and which represents about 2,000 patients. And you can pick any one of these books out, any one at random, and you can use them, and you can thumb through it, and you'd see many pages of slices with emphysema. You just thumb through all these books and get them all.
This is a typical clean lung. There are no signs of cigarette smoking or extended exposure to air pollution. Compare it with this lung. A few holes have appeared, and we see signs of bronchitis. Bronchitis often signals the beginning of emphysema. Statistically, the chances are that this person was a light smoker or had just recently begun smoking. The lungs of heavier smokers are riddled with holes. Emphysema can clearly be seen here.
Well, with due respect, I was going to ask what the senator planned to do about high-tar cigarettes that come over the border, say, from Mexico, after he has carefully limited the production of such cigarettes in the United States. Are we going to have Camel runners replacing the rum runners of the 1920s? Now, come on, this is a practical and a serious problem. You know that very
certainly
well.
it's practical.
Well, what are you going to do about it?
Why do you want to make it humorous by talking about camel runners?
Let's make it just as serious as you want to make it and answer. No, you answer that one, Senator.
I will not answer that until
not?
I've got a chance to answer your first question on Mexico.
Go ahead.
Any product coming into this country can be required to conform to any standard that we set in this country.
So you're going to have bootleggers?
Will you let me answer the question? If we set a standard for our own tobacco industry, certainly we will set it for all import.
Back to prohibition. Right?
I don't know. This may get to some people, but I feel that all smokers are weak in character, that they're using... I'm sorry, I know. That seems mean. But I don't know. I don't know of anybody that smokes that I could call strong. I don't know. It seems like they're using it to escape in some way or another.
When you picked up the cigarette, right, all of a sudden you started acting, here I am, Mr. Big Shot, Mr. Cool. Yet when you didn't have a cigarette in your hand...
I put it down and act, Mr. Big Shot, Mr. Cool.
Well, you could fake it too, Dave. But, I mean, actually there was a noticeable difference in your personality. You just started acting, well, you know, here I am, Joe Cool, you know.
You want me to put it out and act Joe Cool?
No,
but still.
I mean, it's giving you the big step.
Yeah.
That's what you say. I say you guys have a crutch that you don't smoke, and that's why you're all Big Shot, Mr. Cool. How's that?
Why? Because we can stand on our own 2 feet.
I can stand on my own 2
our
feet.
own problems without holding a cigarette.
Yeah. It helps me get my mind off my whatever my problem is.
Why can't you do something else more constructive instead
Like
of
what?
doing that?
Like what? What is that to do? Chew gum and rot your
You
teeth.
can do something with your own hands.
Drink? I like be merry. That's what I was doing.
No,
I was doing something with my hands. What happens if I like it? What's wrong with that?
Well, what about your friends? I mean, would they influence you at all? I mean, if they couldn't stand smoking, would you stop at all?
Maybe around them, just so I wouldn't lose friends, but...
You want to be someone and be known, kind of. And like cigarettes become the way. And like you think you can be Mr. Big, smoking a cigarette. And like you hear about it usually in 7th grade. And then 8th and 9th, the pressure comes on. And you kind of decide. And usually around senior high, you kind of grow up and see that they're no good.
And the people that are smokers have just, their lungs are just filled with holes. It doesn't take much intelligence to, you know, to say, well...
Do they ever show any people up there that don't smoke that have holes in their lungs? How do you know that there are people that don't smoke that have lots of holes in their lungs?
Yeah. That's true.
Okay.
This is the only film I've ever seen that really made me never want to smoke again. Because I never knew anything about, like, those lung slices and everything, and that, you know, that's really shocking.
Well,
It's only
gruesome facts. That's what gets people, you know.
And seeing those mice, too. Seeing the mice with the cancerous tumors on them, and you're just sitting there going, that could be me, you know?
To see it, you don't like it, but, you know, as long as you don't have to see it. This is the first really gross movie I've ever seen. You know, they show this little heart going, pumping away, and There's a lot of people you show that to, and they lead it wrong, you know.
Lots of times you just hear the...
They always talk about, like, the holes in your lungs and everything, but, you know, I've never seen them before.
And they use big terms.
I completely disagree with you. I think, you know, like if a guy has cigarette smoke on his breath, it smells good. I like it. I like, you know, if I go into the bathroom, you know, if you go into the bathroom, girls' bathroom,